And now enjoy this free Jason Modcast show.
Welcome to My Public Life. As an American Nerd, I am your host, David K. Montoya. Welcome back, kids. It's just a nice, quiet morning. Just been geeking out, looking over things. I was wondering a question, and it kind of leads me into my main topic today, but I was just wondering, how long have you guys been fans? Are you comic book fans? Or are you cartoon fans, anime fans, manga fans? What kind of fans are you? Let me know. I'm curious. My thing was today, I've been kind of reflecting on everything that I used to really enjoy as a child. But, as an adult, I don't have that much free time. So when I get to sit down and geek out, it's a little bit more special to me nowadays. And to be able to sit back and reflect on the nostalgia, like my thing is I loved comic books. Specifically, I loved X-Men comics. And that's kind of what happened today. Was I was trying to figure out what was my first comic book. And I remember, as I'm actually speaking, my first memory of a comic book, until it just occurred to me, was X-Men 254. And though I was looking at it, and it was a December of 1989, I had already been an X-Men fan for like 2 years, because I became an X-Men fan when I was 10, and that was in 1987. So I was trying to figure out, match the dates to what was my first X-Men comic book. And I couldn't remember. To this day, I still don't remember just the memory of 254. But my first comic book, actually, as I'm speaking, like I said, it occurred to me, and I was really young. And it's weird that I remember this, because as I'm looking at like Wikipedia, it says that it came out in 1978, which had to have been, maybe it was because as I'm reading through Wikipedia, continue, there was a 2010 reissue, but there was no, no, I couldn't have been that young. Because, let me back up. The comic book that I'm referring to is Superman versus Muhammad Ali. That is my very first comic book that I remember having. And I don't know if I could read or not. I really don't remember if I could. But I remember having that book, and I remember cutting the book up. I know. I'm like thinking about it right now. And making action figures out of them. And so that's what I was saying. I couldn't have been, because in 1978, I would still be an infant. I'd be 1. So somewhere along the line, somebody gave me this comic book. And I had to have been old enough to be able to have scissors. And I don't know if they were like, kid scissors or whatever, but I remember cutting them up. And I remember it was when my parents were still together, my actual biological parents. So I had to have been really young. It's kind of interesting to think about it, because number one, I couldn't have been no more than 2 or 3, and to be given scissors at that age is, it was the 70s. I guess things were different back then. I guess. But that will be my main thing today. Is I want to talk about the X-Men. But there is, well, let's see. Do I want to talk about the X-Men now, or do I want to reflect on it, or do I want to do some news? Because there's some news that I want to cover too. Which incidentally, mostly of it's X-Men news. There's one Guardian of the Galaxy news bit, but I'm trying to decide. Yeah. Okay. Well, as I'm thinking, and if I change gears, I change gears. I'm thinking that it was in 1987. I remember my cousin Michael. He's the one who originally introduced me to comic books, and I didn't appreciate the comic books as then. I was, I wasn't a very good reader back then. I wasn't a good reader at all. But I've always been a fan of art, and I remember this was during the time where Cyclops and Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, and Angel had all kind of segregated to their away from the X-Men and became X-Factor. So when I came in, the original 5 X-Men were not even part of the X-Men. It was the 80s. Storm was leading it with Dazzler, Diamondback, and Longshot. Of course, Wolverine and Nightcrawler would periodically pop in as well. More so Wolverine than in Colossus as well. And so, though today my favorite X-Men is Cyclops, my original favorite X-Men was Longshot. And I remember, as I'm kind of reflecting back as a 10-year-old boy, my cousin Michael and I, we would play the X-Men on a continuum, and I remember that I would always play as Longshot, which is kind of funny, because I look nothing like Longshot. Longshot was kind of a slender dude with long blonde hair, and I was never slender in my life. Even now, as I try to take care of myself physically, I'm not slender at all. And it's just, I'm kind of reflecting back on it. I'm also thinking about, there was a big thing back in the day. I'm going to Google this while I speak. It was X-Men Pride of the or what was it? X-Men Pride? Pride of the X-Men? It's called X-Men Pride of the X-Men. And it was a cartoon. It was the very first X-Men cartoon, and let's see, when did it come out? That came out in 1989. So I was, well, it depends on what month it was. I don't remember what month it was, but so I was between 11 and 12 when this came out. And I remember my cousin Michael and I, we were sitting and we watched it. And we're like, oh my God, they're finally doing, an X-Men cartoon. We did not realize that it was a pilot, essentially, for the X-Men cartoon to come out like 2 or 3 years later. But yeah, I'm kind of reflecting back on that. I remember we were so stoked. And I remember we were trying to figure out, because they had Wolverine with an Australian accent. And we're like, okay, well, the story essentially, at the time we were watching this cartoon, it was taking place. The X-Men were still in the Down Under camp, or they're, and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then when the X-Men cartoon came out in 90, I want to say it was 92. When did it come out? Let's see. X-Men animated series. Let's see. The animated series. That came out in 92. Yeah, it came out in 92. Okay, so I'm right. It did. It came out in 1992. So we were kind of expecting, well, not we. By this time, Michael and I had stopped talking to each other. He moved on, moved somewhere else. I moved somewhere else. So he moved somewhere else. I moved somewhere else. And we weren't really at all. We weren't in contact. And so I would say we is because by that time my little sister was born, and let's see, 88 is when she was born. So 89, 90, 91, 92, she was 4. And she to this day she loves the X-Men. So we enjoyed the X-Men when it first came out. Anyway, I digress. When the first episode came out, I was expecting to hear an Australian accent from Wolverine, Logan, which wasn't the case. In fact, it wasn't even like Canadian accent. And I know a Canadian accent, trust me. It was American sounding. And I was like, but I remember we got enamored in that series. We loved it, my sister and I. In fact, to this day, any incarnations of animated or movie-wise that, and even though it wasn't stay 100% true, it was close enough where it was really good. And I digress. I was just kind of reminiscing about being an X-Men fan because, that's what this is about, is being a fan and enjoying a medium. And that's my thing, is I enjoyed, back then, I enjoyed reading the comic books. And I remember it was, goodness, I want to say it was X-Men 288, no, 287, I believe. No, I'm saying that wrong. Hold on. Let me see, search my thoughts. Search your thoughts. You know it is true. No, it was X-Men 281. It was right before Bishop was introduced. And that's when I became an avid reader, was during that time. Yeah, that was, goodness, that's been a while. Where were we at? 600 essentially. It's been a while. I'm getting old, kids. But anyway, that's just kind of me reminiscing about, the X-Men comics and how much I enjoy them. And, I would love to experience that again. But, you take what you can get. And as an adult, interpretation is different from a 10-year-old child. So, stories are different. Everything's different. The feeling's different. And that's why. And I think that maybe that's perhaps what the big issue is with all this hate going on with fandom right now. Is that, these people that are my age or even older, they're like, I hate this crap, because they're reminiscing on the feeling and the emotion and the interpretation that they had as a child. So they're expecting it as an adult, but as an adult, your process of everything is different now as a child than as a child. So you're going to see the characters in a different light. Even if it's handled really, really well, it's you're not going to see it the same way you've seen it as a child. That's just the way it is. All right, I've wasted at least a third of the show kind of just rambling on about my love for the X-Men. So I guess it's time to pop open and let's see what's going on in the news. Again, most of this is X-Men eccentric news. There is one thing that has to do with Guardian of the Galaxy, and let's see. Let's go ahead and do that one now, and then we can go into the rest with the X-Men, and we can keep it an X-Men-esque type show. Okay, so this one is an article that reads, Disney plans to use James Gunn's Guardian of the Galaxy script 3 script confirmed by brother Sean Gunn. Let's see. It says, one of many questions surrounding Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 is whether Disney will use the script completed by writer-director James Gunn shortly before his firing in July. An early report suggested the studio likely intend to do just that, something now confirmed by filmmaker's brother, Sean Gunn. The actor who played the Ravager and provides motion caption performance for Rocket Raccoon assured Tesla World the plan is to eventually move forward with Guardians 3 with James Gunn's script. I know Disney still wants to make this movie, he said. I know that they have every intention of using the script that my brother wrote. Disney severed ties with James Gunn in July after old tweets, some dating back more than a decade, resurfaced in which he made offensive comments about rape and pedophilia. Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 was targeted to begin production in early 2019, but last month Disney placed the project on indefinite hold. Obviously, that it was a very unfortunate situation for everybody, most of all him, Sean Gunn told the newspaper. But I am also somebody who has been preparing to spend half a year making that movie, and now that it's up in the air, obviously, I think it's a tricky position for them to find another director to step in. And also the scheduling of a lot of other actors who are incredibly busy can't be easy. But I know that they plan on making the movie. I had not been contacted at all for a while, but I was recently contacted by Marvel saying, yeah, we do plan to make this movie. We're just not sure when yet. So there you go. They're moving forward on Guardian of the Galaxy 3. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be good. I really liked the first one. Second one was cute. And hopefully number 3 will be good. I think that, I don't know. I'm trying my best not to get into a rant this episode about James Gunn. It seems like I've been ranting since episode 1. But, you know, it's his creation, the storyline, rather, you know, his script and direction. And I just feel like you won't get the full... You'll get an X3 is what you'll get. Even though the first X-Men and X-Men 2 weren't good, at least, you know, you're like, God, it can't get worse. And then X-Men 3 came out. And you're like, oh, yes, it can. I'm afraid that that's exactly what's going to happen with Guardian 3, is that they're going to bring in another director who has a different foresight of what James Gunn wanted. And he's just going to, because think about it, it was all the same cast as the first X-Men and the second X-Men movie. It was the same people, same actors, different director. Everything changed, and it was just crap. I'm just really hoping, because, you know, they legitimately took an unknown comic book, Guardian of the Galaxy, which had been canceled at least twice that I know of, and turned it into something mega popular with the release of the first motion picture. So, you know, I don't know. To me, I see James Gunn is the reason behind their popularity, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of insight, is that they will be moving forward with the Guardian of the Galaxy 3 movie. They just don't know when. Okay, so we are switching gears to back to the X-Men. And this article, which caught my attention because I actually have this particular comic book sitting right above my desk, hanging on the wall. It's signed by Chris Claremont. And it says, and it is Jim Lee answers decade-old mystery about X-Men #1 cover art. All right, let's see what it says. It says, one of the most long-standing questions related to X-Men comics spawned from various covers that were available for the first issue of the series' 1991 relaunch. Cover C and cover E were fairly similar, with both featuring the exact same drawing of Wolverine, Cyclops, Iceman, a bit with different coloring. Yeah, because it was all red, if I remember right. And then the E, which is the gatefold, has the green. Let me look up. Yeah, it's the green background. That being said, the two covers were also fairly different. Cover C had more of a traditional look, complete with a title that popped off the page, then trademark 90s top left corner box, and well as a corner box at the bottom right, commemorating the 50th anniversary of Captain America. Cover E went more of a minimalistic approach with no corner boxes, a simple Marvel Comics logo, and the title that blends into the environment. Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. You should check it out. The thing that caught people's attention, however, is that the fact that in cover C, Wolverine had only popped the claws on his right hand, as where in cover E shows both sets of claws popped. Naturally, this led people to question why such a small yet very specific change was made. Following publishing a piece related to the new Venom film, it says CBR, Comic Book Resources, Brian Cohen was asked on Twitter if he had previously discussed the disparting between the X-Men #1 covers. Cohen explained that he hadn't and simply decided to directly ask cover artist Jim Lee, who now serves as publisher and CCO, Chief Creative Officer for DC, why Wolverine's claws were altered. And then there's a screenshot of the actual conversation. It says Jim McLoughlin. It says, hey, I've been reading your articles for years, but I can't remember if you've ever discussed why Wolverine's claws changed on X-Men 1991 #1 cover C and E. And then Cohen, no idea. Let's ask Jim Lee. And an idea why Wolverine's claws were popped on one hand in cover C, but were popped on both hands in cover E. Okay. Lee responds saying that it actually came as a result of an aforementioned Captain America corner box. I like Cap too much to put 3 claws through his head, Lee said. Really? That's it, huh? Wow. That's funny. Okay, and that's what it says. Is his official reply to the tweet is, I like Cap too much to put 3 claws through his head. And then you're looking at it, and yep, that's what would happen if he actually did that. The claws would go into Captain America's head, which is funny. Wow. Goodness. So there's your answer. Okay, let's see what it says. It says ultimately it goes to show how much an artist has to consider when drawing up a cover for a comic book, namely how to make their artwork with specific of the finished cover that are beyond their control. I mean, let's number one, Jim Lee's an amazing artist. He's probably one of the best out there still. And that's interesting. That's an interesting thought to think that that you would have to do something like that. If you drew the two claws, that one would be going through Captain America's head. That's interesting, because nowadays, I don't even think gosh, I haven't bought a brand new comic book in a while. I'm guilty. If I buy a new issue, it'll be on Comixology as a digital download. So I haven't looked at a comic book cover in forever. So I don't know if people have to worry about that anymore. So let's go ahead and move along. We still got a couple more articles to go through before I send you home. One of the things that's been kind of fun to watch is the interaction between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Now, of course, Hugh Jackman has been the only actor to portray Wolverine in a live-action film, and Ryan Reynolds is, our incarnation of Deadpool, which kind of like Hugh Jackman, it's hard to see him not as Deadpool. So, when I'm 70 years old and these actors are no longer there, I'm kind of interesting to think about, the incarnation of the character. You get something like Batman, which seems like changes all the time. Once you're like, okay, whatever, you just deal with it. It seems like with Marvel movies, these guys, once you get in a role, these guys are in it all the way. So anyway, the article says, sorry, Ryan Reynolds, but Hugh Jackman still won't return as Wolverine. Now, everybody knows that Ryan Reynolds is trying to get a Deadpool Wolverine movie put together, and I don't know. I think they will eventually. I think he just he's playing hard to get, I think, because they're friends in real life too. So it's creating interest. All right, let's see what this says. It says Ryan Reynolds has long lobbied Hugh Jackman to reprise his role as Wolverine, but to no avail. He went as far as to name Jackman as his top choice to appear in Deadpool sequel or X-Force movie. However, it appears there's little that will convince the actor to pick up the claws again following 2017's Logan. While promoting his upcoming political drama Frontrunner, Hugh Jackman was asked if he might reprise his role as Wolverine if the director Jason Reitman were to helm a Deadpool sequel. Now, did Ryan Reynolds ask you to ask that question? Jackman replied with a laugh. Because this sounds like a trick question. I love Jason Reitman, and actually, for all I say, I like Ryan Reynolds. But right now, Ryan, sorry, buddy. You're going to have to work harder than that. And let's see. For the time being, it seems that Wolverine won't appear in another film with Deadpool. Considering Deadpool 2, the Super Duper cut even includes a post-credit scene in which Reynolds, Wade Wilson travels through time to X-Men Origins Wolverine and tells Logan to say yes if he's ever asked to get back in the saddle. It's no doubt disappointing that a team-up won't appear to be in the cards. Reynolds confirms in May that the only thing standing in the way of Deadpool Wolverine movie is Hugh Jackman. Now, like I said, I think he will. I think he'll eventually go in and, yeah, I think he will. Just give it time. Just build the anticipation. And I think it'll be a fun movie. I really do. I think it'll be something. I mean, shoot. So far, Ryan Reynolds has, other than the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, which was atrocious. Ryan Reynolds has pretty much been spot on with his interpretation of Deadpool, and I actually, I think that Deadpool 2 is actually better than the first one. I really do. It's just one of those rare occasions, and I think that he knows the formula to bringing Deadpool to life on screen. And I think a combination of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds as Wolverine and Deadpool, I think that would be a fun movie to watch. I don't think it would be serious in any sort of way, but it would be fun to watch. Okay, we're going to switch from movies to comic here. And this one says, Mr. and Mrs. X just announced X-Men fans to Professor Xavier's daughter. Now, how many kids does Xavier have now? The last I heard, when I was growing up, there was David Heller, which is Legion, and that was pretty much it. Now I think there's a kid from Mystique that I can't remember his name. I think it's Charlie, and then he's a villain, and then now there's a daughter. So let's find out what it says. Of course, I do have to give you the warning, the spoiler alert, that this is going to contain a lot of spoilers for Mr. and Mrs. X number 3, which is on sale currently right now. It says, when Charles Xavier returned from the dead in Astonishing X-Men, he came back as a younger, hot-headed mutant with more aggressive vision for protecting his people. He wasn't the professor of old, and certainly not the man Empress Lilandra fell in love with and married as she tried to broker peace within her Shi'ar empire and also between her people and Earth. Both endured a tragic history as star-crossed lovers whose homeworld's need would often rip them apart from each other's arms. Eventually their marriage would be annulled, and yes, death would befell on the duo. But with Charles now resurrected, he has something new to deal with from the relationship, his daughter, Xandra. Mr. and Mrs. X has been a wild ride so far, Rogue and Gambit being tasked with Kitty Pryde to recover a stolen egg while on their space honeymoon. Not much was known about this item, save that the Imperial Guard, Deadpool, and black market criminals all wanted it. The newlyweds would eventually grab the egg, which at the end of the last issue hatched and revealed it seemed to be a clone of Rogue. The latest issue reveals, however, that it is genetically engineered daughter of Charles and Lilandra, a super telepath mimicking Rogue. Okay. She reads their minds and then emerges in their true form, picking up the name Xandra as an allegory for her parents. She was created from the DNA after they died. Charles was killed by the Phoenix Cyclops, and Lilandra died years before in the War of Kings thanks to Vulcan's coup. Xandra presents in an Invoke the Game of Thrones scenario. Gladiator, who assumes the Magister's role, can't talk, after Lilandra died and Vulcan was defeated, wants her, although his reasons why are yet unclear. He told the Imperial Guards to destroy the egg, but it seems he's secretly working with Lilandra's former aide to bring Xandra home. One of his warriors, a new version of telepath known as Nightside, kidnaps Xandra, but is uncertain if she took her back to Gladiator or has other plans. Prior to that, Deathbird tried to snatch the child, further complicating the entire situation. She is sister of Lilandra and a war-crazed individual who is why she never considered to lead following her sister's death. Can anyone say plot hole? I I mean, she's only been trying to take over the Shi'ar since she was introduced. So, yeah. Let's see. Lilandra inherited her role from her brother Dekin, another cosmic tyrant, because the Empire didn't want a madman leading them anymore, especially one who tried to conquer the universe using the Makin crystal and the Phoenix Force. Under the Gladiators regime, order was reestablished, but Deathbird indicates Xandra gave her a legitimate claim. Again, I don't see... Deathbird never really needed a legitimate claim to claim the throne. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see. So it seems Deathbird and Gladiator might be trying to befriend the girl so they can advise how the Empire should move forward. Okay. This sets up some interesting possibilities as Kitty and the X-Men and maybe even the Starjammers might have to get involved to protect the integrity of the Shi'ar throne. After all, Shi'ar war always ends up spilling over to Earth. Isn't that the truth? Gladiator did send his son, Kid Gladiator. Good name. Sorry. I didn't know about that, but oh gosh. Okay. Okay, I'm good. All right. Kid Gladiator to learn under Kitty, so maybe they're both mapping out a similar fate for Xandra on Earth, prepping her to rule. In any case, we also need to know how Kitty knew about the egg, who sent Deadpool after it, and who engineered the girl, as it seems like a move Sinister would pull. And that's actually where I was just thinking was Mr. Sinister probably was involved with that. Another part of the mystery involves how Deathbird knew of Xandra's existence, because let's face it, the timing really suits her ambitions. Well, either way, the drama only has begun because there's a critical figure in Xandra's life who's still in the dark regarding what's transpiring in space. Her dad. He isn't father material at the moment, and only time will tell if it gets involved. The one thing that is clear is that Rogue and Gambit really need all the help they can get to save the girl and protect the integrity of the Shi'ar throne. Alright kids, it's getting a little loud around here and I apologize. I'll try to wrap this up here. We've got one more and we're going to jump back to the X-Men movie and then we will call it a day. Let's see. It is... Where are we at here? Okay, sorry kids. Okay, it is Dark Phoenix trailer leaks online. I actually tried to watch it, and it was just... I couldn't watch it. Yeah. I'll just wait until it actually comes out on the big screen so I can make heads and tails of everything instead of trying to guess. But the article reads, a trailer has leaked for X-Men Dark Phoenix, offering a long-awaited look at the director Simon Kinberg's sequel, which is now undergoing reshoots. Captured with an awkwardly angled... That's not a joke. Captured with an awkwardly angled phone held between two theater seats, the footage is in Russian, suggesting it originated at a recent Fox production presentation in St. Petersburg. We won't link... Oh, they won't do it because, they don't want to violate the copyright laws, which is fine. I get that. You can go online and watch it. It's on YouTube. Set in part to the end by the Doors, the trailer, or at least what can be seen of it, certainly qualifies as epic and mysterious. The description used by a writer who attended the presentation. How much of that footage will be replaced as a result of the reshoots, of course, remains to be seen. Rumors have swirled around Dark Phoenix since last March, when Fox moved the film from its original release date of November 2nd, 2018 to March 14th, 2019, and again delayed The New Mutants, this time to August 2nd, 2019. Speculation that Dark Phoenix has been quietly dropped from Fox's calendar was quickly swatted down by Fox, as was the report that reshoots were expected to span 3 months. It's more like 2.5 weeks. And then, of course, it says it's written and directed by franchise veteran Simon Kinberg. X-Men Dark Phoenix stars Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, James McAvoy as Charles Xavier, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, on and on and on. And it's supposed to open February 2019. Well, that was kind of a short article. That was okay. I was kind of hoping for more information on that, but hey, it is what it is. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed our little X-Men extravaganza. If you've not seen any of the X-Men movies, they are worth watching at least once. The best one by far, I still think, is X-Men, not Apocalypse, it's X-Men Days of the Future Past. Even though it doesn't follow with the comic book, it's still a very good movie, very enjoyable. Overall, as far as X-Men world, the best movie is Deadpool 2. And if you're looking for something, as far as X-Men legitimate, I would go X-Men animated series. And of course, they don't all fall with the actual comic book. I don't think anything ever does. But they follow pretty closely, and it's very enjoyable. And you can pick them up on Blu-ray, or you could stream them online. I think, where did I see it at? I think I seen it on Amazon Prime not too long ago, that you can actually sit and watch the entire thing. Or where else did I see it? I think I seen it on YouTube as well. I was doing some research on something, and you can, I guess, this is new to me. I'm not really big on surfing the web, but I guess now you can rent movies off of YouTube as well, which is kind of interesting. So you can pick that up on anywhere or stream it. Content is so easy to obtain nowadays. It's not like back in the 80s. All right, kids. Thank you so much for coming in and stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this little rendition of my love for the X-Men. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. You can drop me an email at davidkmontoya@jayzomon, JAYZOMON.com. And you can ask me, if you want me to cover something, or if you just want to geek out with me. I'm always down to geek out. I'm just a big old geek at heart. Or if there's something that you want me to look into. There's some things that I try to stay clear of, like any type of updates on Star Wars, because I really enjoy going in cold on Star Wars. I don't really particularly want to know the whole thing on Star Wars. Kind of same thing with the Infinity War. The next, it's not Infinity War 2 anymore. It's something else. But anyway, the next Avengers movie. I'm trying to stay clear of all that information, but I'll if you ask, I'll take a look at it. So again, you can email me and let me know what you think. Ask me a question. If you feel compelled to say I suck, go ahead. I don't care. I'm getting kind of used to that nowadays as we're into our 7th week of podcasting. So for this week, I am David K. Montoya, and I bid you adieu.